Guys, Node.ai got going, call it 6 months ago, researching. They just closed a $500,000 convertible note with a 10 million cap. So call it they sold 5% of the business. Pretty healthy. The question now is, can they get MBA students as their initial ICP target? Can they get these students using the tool? And then after that, can they start turning on a revenue stream here? We will see what happens. Justin's got experience though. One, two-time exited, first time exited founder, second time exited founder, bootstrapped VC. Node is his third project. We'll see where it goes. Hey, folks, my guest today is Justin Shum. He's building Node.ai, which extends human reasoning and decision making abilities. He's building on his own experience. He's a three-time founder, one bootstrap, one exit, and one venture backed. Justin, you ready to take us to the top?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. What was the name of the bootstrapped one?
Yeah, Ready Chat, founded back in 2013, exited it in 2015.
Ready Chat. Okay. And what was the you bootstrapped that, right?
Yep, you got it.
So like no angels, you just put in your own money basically.
Yes, that and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah.
And how many years was that again, you said?
We operated for 3 years and then we had an acquisition.
Okay. And did you guys break $1 million of ARR at that point, or what were you when you exited?
We were pretty close in terms of Canadian dollars. If you converted that to USD, yeah, it broke 1 million. And because it was a hybrid between software and services, we didn't get a huge multiplier on it. It was about 3x revenue for the acquisition.
Okay. This would have been back.
Bootstrapped entrepreneur, that was a lot of money for us at the time.
Yeah, I mean, what? That's a $3 million deal back in 2017, right? You guys own how many co-founders?
There was three.
I mean, so if you each can pre-tax take home something like 300K, that's a good gig back then.
Yeah, you know what? And in Canada, you get your tax free up to 750,000. So it was basically all of it in our pockets, which was nice.
That's okay. So I changed my math. You each get $350,000 pre-tax and get to keep most of it, something like that.
Yeah.
That's great. Looking back, do you go, man, I wish I kept building that thing. There was a lot of potential there. Did you sell too early or no?
Yeah, I think every founder has seller's remorse for sure. But it was somewhat of a platform that launched us into other businesses, and all of us are successful in different areas now. So I don't think I have too much regrets.
Yeah, I rarely meet founders that regret their first sale because it creates so much optionality for you, not to mention the cash in your pocket. All right, you get that done in 2017. And then what was the next company? I guess this was the VC backed one.
This was actually not. The second company was Ask Avenue, again in the prop tech space.
Ask what?
Ask Avenue.
Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had some of the largest enterprise customers at the time: Remax, a Royal LePage, another massive brokerage with 20,000 agents. And we got a lot of press, won a pitch competition to kick it off. But that one was angel backed actually. And it was a completely different experience from, bootstrapping where I own 51% of Ready Chat, Ask Avenue slightly less, but it's super important to note that taking on angels, they have to be the right angels. The angels we took on were not experienced in investing in tech. And so they had different agendas, different strategies they were trying to enforce. And so it got pretty messy, pretty ugly. And I actually exited that one willingly and didn't make too much money off of it. I just wanted to move on to new things.
Why do you say ugly?
Yeah, just different objectives. They were opposed to the markets we were entering, the go-to-market strategy. And there was just a lot of debates, a lot of bats, which led to backstabbing eventually. So it became somewhat of a toxic environment.
Backstabbing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for example, I was the CEO at the time, and I really wanted to continue to go after enterprise within real estate, continue to go up market and just double down on that segment. But they wanted to expand into other verticals. And so eventually, it came down to, voting and I was outvoted and I was actually removed from the company, but I was willing to leave.
Interesting. What was the board? How many folks?
There was, I believe, 6 people at the time.
Wow, that's a lot of people on a board for a company at angel stage.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can
Interesting.
imagine how complicated that was.
Well, yeah, and also you rarely, I mean, you don't want to have an even number on your board because then you have to deal with ties.
Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
All right, what was the third company?
Yeah, third company is Node, which I'm currently working on. This one's venture backed, so I've gone through various structures, and I can say that this one is a lot easier when you're venture backed. You have just access to stronger advisors, more resources, and you really can. I wouldn't say take your time, but you can really methodically plan out your next steps. You're not trying to put out a bunch of fires, trying to make payroll or anything like that. You have more time and focus, I would say.
Oh, what's going on there, YouTube? Good to see you guys. Now imagine this. You love watching these interviews with SaaS founders, but imagine if we took all of the valuation data out from over 2,807 interviews I've done manually. Saves you a lot of time. Well, we've done this. We've built it into the beautiful interface inside of FounderPath. Check this out. I'll show you how you can access this in a second, but you log in, you connect your Stripe account, you see your valuation real time, you can see what it changed over the past 88 days, and even set goals for valuation this year. Now, the secret to valuation is there's many different ways to value a SaaS business. So the reason you're going to see 3 or 4 different valuations inside of your FounderPath dashboard, this is all free by the way, is because depending on who's doing the buying of your SaaS company, you're going to get a different valuation. A VC is going to pay a different valuation. Private equity firm is different. If you're going to do a minority sale, that's different. And if you sell the whole business, that's a different valuation. You can see all those when I hover over here. Right, so the teal is what a VC would pay, yellow is what private equity, and red is if you sold the whole thing outright. Now, what's cool about this is not built off random data. Again, you guys hear these interviews on YouTube. All these data are built from real-time valuation data points founders share with us on the show. So traction, 1.2 million, seed round, 3.7 raise, they sold 22% of their business. Go in here and filter by the event. Maybe you only want to see companies that have sold the whole business. Well, here are a bunch that have been acquired, the valuation and the multiple. Maybe you're going out right now and you're raising your seed round. Well, go in here and look at all this recent seed deals that went down, what they raised, what valuation they raised at, and what percent that they sold. There's never been a larger data set of SaaS valuations than what you can get now inside of FounderPath, and we're thrilled to bring it to you. All right, we're going to go back to the YouTube video here in a second, but if you want to check this tool out, if you want to jump in and sign up, you can check it out for free to get your valuation at this link, founderpath.com/products/valuations. Or if you go to founderpath.com and hover over products, click on get your valuation here and go ahead and sign up to give it a whirl. Again, all that valuation data live right inside the platform. I hope to see you there. All right, let's jump back into the interview. So how much did you raise in what year?
Yeah, so we just closed it actually last month. So it's pre-seed, 500,000 USD from Drive Capital, amazing partners. We're contemplating taking on a little bit more for our pre-seed with, I don't want to name them yet because it's not done, but their resources in AI, and we're building an AI space, would be invaluable to us. So we're considering opening up a little bit more, and then maybe we'll raise either a small A or a larger seed in about 6 to 8 months' time.
What cap did you negotiate?
So it's convertible note. Sorry, what was your question?
What cap did you negotiate, or was it an uncapped convertible note?
It's capped, yes. I don't want to get into too many details, but I will share that we did raise we're probably in the top 10% in terms of valuations and terms. We came out of a program called Entrepreneur First. Not sure if you're familiar with them. That's where I actually met my co-founders this time around. And their terms were 10% for 200,000. Not the greatest. And so we actually didn't go through with that term sheet. We actually decided to hit the market, the open market, and we secured the 500 at 5%. Instead of the 10%. So much more favorable.
So that would be a 10 million cap.
Yeah. 10 million valuation. Yes.
Well, there is no valuation on a say. I mean, there's a cap of 10 million, right? So when you use the word valuation, what do you mean?
So it's 5% at a 10 million valuation. And then the conversion point is where the cap comes into play. So it is uncapped rather.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Point being, you sold 5% of the business once it converts for 500K.
You got it.
Got it. That's a high valuation. That can be a bad thing because you have to grow into it. It also resets the pricing of your options, makes it harder to recruit or defend a lower 409A valuation. Why'd you optimize for valuation?
Yeah, you know what? That wasn't our plan. It was more so how we looked at it was we can get more money for the equity. But we're also building the AI space, and we're going after a pretty large market. So we feel that the valuation wasn't too steep for us.
All right, let's talk actually about the product. So who do you plan to sell this to? How will they use it?
Yeah, our initial ICP will be actually MBA students. Why MBA students? Well, they're not tight on privacy, and we need your data in
I
order.
hate this idea. Aren't all MBA students broke?
They are, but here's the thing.
So why would you pick them as your initial segment if they're broke?
I wouldn't say they're broke. I would say probably 50% of them are actually working in the field, doing part-time MBA. The ones that are like right out of undergrad entering their MBA, yeah, they're broke. But here's the thing, they're open to trying new technologies, and we're really looking for the feedback as opposed to monetizing them. We want them to help us define our roadmap. If we
But
see,
why? Why would you build a roadmap around a customer that's broke? Don't you want to build a roadmap around a customer that's rich?
well, here's the thing, they grow up into enterprise organizations, and they're going to, if they adopt us according to our plan, they'll take us into their organizations as well. So that's the strategy. On top of that, they mimic our core customer that we plan to monetize with, which are management consultants. They do the same thing in terms of analysis, and they deal with a lot of unstructured data and documents and things like that.
I see. What month did you write the first line of code for the platform?
We actually just started writing last week. So we've been building, my co-founders and I, we've been building across 3 different continents for the past 6 months. And before we wrote any line of code, we went through deep discovery. We went through a dozen different rabbit holes to arrive to this final conclusion where we validated our hypothesis before we started writing and building. Unlike my previous startups where we just built and started selling, like I sold packages in my previous startups before we even had a product or service. So this one was a lot more methodical in our approach.
I mean, how do you know? I mean, no one's ever come to me and say, I tested my hypothesis and it failed. I'm not going to start a startup anymore, right? Everyone figures out a way to make that a good story. So, I mean, what were you looking for what were you testing specifically?
Yeah, we were trying to unlock value. Like while building an AI, it's scary because literally every release of from OpenAI kills hundreds of startups, right? Every single feature, and so we didn't want to build something for the short term, and so we really had to understand what value we could offer long term while thwarting off threats from companies like OpenAI.
Yeah, but how do you know what OpenAI is going to release 6 months from now? What if they release this product? You have no way to know that.
Well, you can kind of understand where LLMs are going to go. Firstly, it's text-based, like simple stuff, and then now they're getting to multimodal, so video, audio, and then you can kind of like trace what type of different things you're going to be able to do with the LLMs for those different types of formats. But for us, we looked at the big picture and we realized, yeah, you're right. We don't know what they're going to release. It's going to disrupt a lot of startups. But everything is going to be chat-based and conversational based. And so what we're actually building is a platform that's really easy for anybody to get into, to start using and finding value with LLMs without having to prompt. So it comes down to design principles, and we see a promptless future. You shouldn't have to converse with your machines in order for them to extract value from them. And I'm taking these learnings from the chatbot era, right? I built in the chatbot era. As you know, chatbots went through a huge hype cycle, and then they fell off because they just sucked. Yes, chatbots are a lot more intelligent now, but you probably have experience with ChatGPT. You understand that prompting, the slightest changes, variations will result in a completely, different outcome and output. And we're trying to eliminate that variance by, again, creating a product that doesn't require prompts.
I mean, anyone listening is going to go, well, how is your system going to know what I want automatically without me prompting it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really comes down to the metadata that's available to us and the context of the actual data that you're dropping into our system. So I mentioned earlier that we're dealing with unstructured data at first. This is in the form of PDFs, video interviews, similar like this. You'd be able to take this recording, drop it in, we would transcribe it, we would understand the context of those conversations, and then we could have auto-suggested next steps. Very similar to like a chatbot experience now. This, I hate saying this and comparing us to this, but when you're chatting with a dumb chatbot, it has like the decision trees, the little buttons that you can select for a different outcome. So we're still leveraging prompts, but we're offering auto-suggested prompts for a user to simply select next output. And so they go through this decision tree, and then we're capturing that in a visual way so that you can arrive to a conclusion or a desired output and then backtrack to see, what variants you can or changes you can make for a variance on that output. Unlike, a conversation interface, all of your prompts get lost.
How do you know what variance though that the user wants to drive?
Yeah. So for example, if you were to drop in a PDF, let's say a Tesla earnings report, maybe past 2 years, and you wanted to run some analysis and compare those 2 years in a certain product segment, you could drop them in and we could.
Well, but that's a prompt. I would have to prompt. I mean, I'm prompting you. What you just defined is a prompt.
Well, you're not though, because you're dropping both in, and we know automatically there's two different folders. We can identify or files. We can identify the relationships, and then have auto-suggested prompts because we know you probably want to do some type of comparison. And so that's the design. Those are the design choices we're making.
How do you know that just from me dropping in two different PDFs that I'm wanting to automatically compare them? What if I'm wanting to concatenate them and put them together?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are various options, which open up different drawers to simplify that process. But at the end of the
Justin, isn't that a prompt?
It's an auto-suggested prompt that you're selecting. There's no cognitive load for you to think, how should I phrase this for a desired output? So we're eliminating that.
Isn't this the whole like son asks mom go to supermarket, the son asks mom for strawberry jam, the supermarket mom shows up, there's 20 different strawberry jams. She ends up buying no jam because there's too many options. I mean, isn't that what you're doing here?
Sure, yeah. But what's great about us, and this is what's somewhat proprietary, is the user interaction data that we're going to get from these MBA students who are going to tell us what is the most accurate response or outcome or path.
But the mom didn't buy any jelly. The supermarket learned nothing. She walked out hands empty. There were too many choices.
Maybe in that example, but we think it could be different and more efficient in the way we.
Why? Well, how do you incentivize an MBA to spend their time to teach your program how to work, and then you're going to turn around later and charge them for it?
You know what it's about? It's about understanding your ICP. We're not trying to do this for every vertical. And so we understand that MBA students as well as consultants leverage a dozen different frameworks. That's the outcome they want. They want to be able to do an analysis and apply framework. And so if we understand that desired outcome, then we can optimize.
That's a prompt.
It is a prompt, but they're not having to prompt it. You're right.
Because it's a set number of prompt. Like, when MBA it wants to compare the Tesla earnings report A to B. The reason that they don't have to prompt is because it's a defined. Because of who the ICP is, it's a defined prompt.
You got it. Yeah, we are still leveraging prompts, but as the user, you don't need to prompt yourself. You don't have to deal with that, and it reduces the cognitive load.
How are you going to make money on this?
Yeah, great question. So we are actually we see this as, we're trying to actually disrupt platforms like Wikipedia. We think, the single simple web page encyclopedia hasn't evolved. And so what if we could give creators, anybody who wants to discuss and analyze and create a community around a topic, the ability to create intelligent workspaces where they can run analyses, and then users, their followers could fork their analysis, create their own, add to it, add more data sources to it, and then build communities around these types of topics. So again, going back to the Tesla earnings report, huge community around retail investors around Tesla earnings. What if you had created a node board and had this analysis and had a community contributing to it as well? So this is living, breathing, evolving type of workspace, and that's our vision and go-to market strategy.
All right, we'll see if it works. In the meantime, let's wrap up with the famous five. Number one, your favorite book.
Favorite book? Oh man, I think it comes down to what I'm reading. Actually, favorite book is a sales book. How to Pitch Anything from Oren Klaff. Any fledgling entrepreneur looking to get started in business, they need to learn how to sell. That book is great in terms of framing conversations.
Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
There are so many. I think Sam Altman is like amazing to follow. Very unassuming, extremely intelligent. Really interesting to follow him right now.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building Node?
Favorite online tool? I would say, because I'm not non-technical, I would say Miro has been extremely helpful for us.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I used to be about 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Now I've prioritized it as my number one thing, objective of the day, even before work. So now I'm getting about 7 hours.
That's great. In situation, married, single, kids?
I am single. I do have a son who's 8 years old.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 38.
38. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
I wouldn't change a thing. So ignorance is bliss. I would like to know the same as I knew back then and follow the same path.
Guys, Node.ai got going, call it 6 months ago, researching. They just closed a $500,000 convertible note with a 10 million cap. So call it, they sold 5% of the business. Pretty healthy. The question now is, can they get MBA students as their initial ICP target? Can they get these students using the tool? And then after that, can they start turning on a revenue stream here? We will see what happens. Justin's got experience though. Two-time exited, first time exited founder, second time exited founder, bootstrapped VC. Node is his third project. We'll see where it goes. Justin, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, three hungry buyers. They try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.